Hello everyone! In this short video, I'm going to talk about your assessment of learning assignment. Now I won't insult your intelligence and read you the assignment sheet. I know you can read it on your own, but I wanted to point out that you do need to create a performance-based assessment and you should be creating it yourself. Please do not use anyone else's work. Under the assignment directions, there are numbered and there's a template to go as you complete the parts. There's also a rubric given on this document as well as Blackboard. You can see the template in Blackboard is numbered by the parts with all the information that you need to include. What I wanted to talk to you about briefly is the first part where you have to choose the essential question, knowledge, or item that you're basing your assessment off of. My hint to you was to look at the VDOE's website. And let me show you what I mean. So here on the VDOE's website, they have a section called SOL and Testing. It's always on the right-hand side if you're logged onto the VDOE. It's always over here. And you can pick your content area. So actually, let me pick mathematics. I never choose math. I always leave you guys out. So let me choose math. You can see that on the Standards of Learning documents, there's a curriculum framework. So let me pick something fun. How about we do geometry? When you open the Geometry Standards of Learning framework, you can see that down here where they start listing the standards and what students are supposed to be able to do, they also give you essential knowledge and skills. And you could use one of these as your starting point for planning your assessment. So for instance, say I really like, line segments, congruent line segments, bringing you back to geometry. You could pick the students will use problem solving, part of the essential knowledge. And you could guide your assessment off of that using problem solving skill here. Another thing I wanted to talk about is down here. It's really important that as you're creating the assessment and planning it for your students, and I do want you to create the directions, whether that's a worksheet or a PowerPoint or a video, however you would go over the assignment with them and tell them what the assessment is, I want to see that. And you can put the presentation online and give me the URL, you can attach a document, you could put it right on the template, it's up to you. But I also want you to create a criterion-based rubric. Now, with performance-based assessment, you're asking students to perform a task that, would be accurate for your field. So you might look at some rubrics that are already out there in your field. And you're welcome, right, to use these for inspiration and cite them, but you still should have a criterion-based rubric, which is exactly what I have down here. You should have different levels, high to low, whatever that is for your kiddos, and you should tell them what the elements are, like I did here in bold, and then you should tell them what high in that area means, what middle in that area means, and what low in that area means. This class is meant for 6 through 12, so it should have words. I shouldn't see, smiley face, middle face, sad face, because that's more of like an elementary type rubric. I expect there to be criterion here. And then in the end, I ask you to explain it to me in part 5. Write a description, justify it, and explain it all to me. So you have the template. So let me take a moment to talk about different types of performance assessments. There are, guys, so many performance assessments out there. And sometimes people say, well, an authentic assessment is a performance assessment. It can be, for sure. But just because you're asking students to perform, that doesn't always mean it's authentic. For example, you might have one school that has kids sit down at a certain day of the week for 5 days a week at a certain time, and each day, all the kids in the class are doing a kind of like a writing assessment. And on day 1, they're all doing pre-writing, and on day 2, they're all drafting, and on day 3, they're all doing, and they all have the same prompt. And that's how they're doing it. You also might have a school that says, no, I'm going to have my kids sit down with their teacher individually and do a portfolio discussion where they go through and they look at the writing that's been done throughout the year and they discuss it. And the English teacher, who is a professional in the area, is evaluating that. Both are performance. only one of those is authentic. Can you guess which one? The one with the portfolio where the child is talking about the writing they've done all throughout the year and showing and having a discussion is authentic. That is what you do. Sitting at your desk, like you would for like the SAT, and writing in this 45-minute period at a certain part of the day is a performance for sure, but not authentic at all. For this assignment, we're focusing just on the performance side of things. Some ideas that you may have considered or may have done in classes yourself include having students create a newspaper, create a website, create a video from another person in your discipline, from their view, or from another time period, or really any historical document. Having a debate, a mock trial, a live interview, any kind of role playing, a dance or dramatic performance, an oral presentation with technology and visuals, or even a concert, an art or poetry exhibit, a movement demonstration, a history or science fair, a live experiment, speech. A speech isn't up here, but that would work too. When we're assessing the performance, we're assessing our students' skills in the area. And so we're looking at, yes, they're meeting this essential knowledge that they can, in our geometry example, solve problems, but they're doing it in a way that they've chosen. As you become further along in your career and more of a tenured teacher, you might actually give kids multiple options and say, pick one of these three. But I encourage you in the beginning to pick one. So for this assignment, I'm having you pick one, performance assessment, and having you plan it out and having your children do that. Let me show you another thing. This is a list of genres from Multi-Genre at Colorado State. Now, not all of these are going to be performance, especially for your area, but sometimes students have told me this list sparks a little bit of creativity on their part. So I'm going to give you this link so that you can click it in Blackboard, but some of these different types of assessments might interest you, like having kids write a short story or rewrite something from the view of another character or create a dialogue, historical times context essay, write an actual scientific article, or do an experiment and videotape yourself. Different types of timelines where they bring in multiple types of countries and multiple types of people might also be a really authentic performance assessment as well. Some students in the past have told me that creating the board games was really good for the math and sciences because of the process that's involved. So if you're in a class where you're trying to teach kids to follow a process, having them create board games might actually be something really cool. So anyhow, I'll share this list with you and maybe it'll spark some creativity. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I'm happy to review your assessment ideas and talk about those further with you. I can't wait to see them.